You're live. Okay, so I'm not sure this is working. Can anybody who's watching maybe say something? This is the first time, so forgive me, folks, as I sort this out. Learn more. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Learn more. Okay. So I'm 20 seconds into it. It shows nobody's watching at the moment. Can you go to my channel?
Well, I'm on the video itself.
No, go to the channel. Just go to Pacific Solo channel.
It's different than the one you shared the other day.
Yeah. So the other one isn't. End stream. Can you see me? I'm not sure. Just hang on a moment. YouTube channel. Videos. 4 people are watching me now. Okay. My birthday live stream. Yeah. So Shay my birthday live stream. Okay. And hello, everybody. I just still sorting this out. If you're watching, could you just say hi in the comment box? I see 5 people watching so far, but I can't actually see who they are, who you are. Oh, Trevor says happy birthday. Thank you, Trevor, for joining. I'm on webcam. And live stream. I'm going to just do an edit for a moment. Cancel. I got a thumbs up. Trevor, yeah, thank you. Working at your desk. There's 8 people in so far. We'll just wait till 12 noon, which is the scheduled time, and then we'll do an official start. I'm still trying to see how I can see who's actually online. Oh, participants. Okay. Pop out chat, toggle time station. Just participants. Are you able to see comments, Ryan? Who is? Oh, okay. Okay. So just wait 5 more minutes till 12 noon in Japan, and then we'll make a start. Thankful to all those who are coming in. And let me just share this link. Ciotomate. Copy link. Yeah, so we need to share the other link.
Yeah, I put it in the live chat.
Okay. Okay. You gonna come out, Brian? Okay. Get ready here. Almost 12 o'clock.
Okay, so it's the new link, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we are.
Okay. Okay, it's almost 12 o'clock Japan time. I screwed up a little bit for those who are watching on how to do this YouTube live. Apparently the link that I gave initially, I don't know how to activate that. So I had to start a new one just now, but it's hopefully we now got 13 people joining. So let me just move this a little closer. Okay, there we go. So welcome to sailing vessel Wahine in the beautiful Shima Yacht Harbor down in Mie, Ken. I have Ryan with me. Ryan, for those who don't know, is my son. He's a fellow boat captain. He's also the leader for my shore team, and he's popped down for my birthday weekend, and he's going to moderate the questions that you may have today. So thanks, Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you all for supporting Dad.
Thank you. And so you're all anonymous, so you don't need to be afraid of being on camera. It's not a Zoom call or something. I will just give you a brief update and report as to what I'm doing and why I'm here and not in Okinawa. And then feel free to post questions at any time. And then Ryan will moderate those questions and we'll try to answer them. And, just the very fact that you're watching is helping me win more favor with the YouTube algorithm. So even if you have to walk away for a little bit, just leave your mobile going or your computer on the channel. And that's a lot of help to me. So first of all, the first episode of season 3 is coming out in a few hours' time. And let me say something about that. Will, who did a beautiful independent film about a friend of mine, Tony, and then he also did one on Pacific Solo, has agreed to work on an episode a month that kind of gives an overview of the time of what's happened in that month. So the video being posted today will be his first video on the channel. I will do video updates hopefully every week. Aim for every Friday, but that will depend whether I'm at sea or not. So just to let you know that the film coming that will be released later today will give an overview of the last 3 or 4 weeks. But essentially, I made a decision last summer to move up my departure date for Vancouver. Initially, my goal was, and it still is the goal, to do this before I'm 70 years old, which would be in 2025. But with COVID and my mother losing her memory, and I had more time to train, I made a decision. I'm going to do all I can to prepare to leave for Vancouver in late May, early to mid-June 2021. And by the way, that is the prescribed time to leave for the weather window and for conditions to be right, particularly the route that I will be traveling. And so I then recalibrated all my plans and preparations. Rather than year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 projects, I had month 1, month 2, month 3, really compressed the training, was aiming to be 80% ready by the end of January and 100% ready by the end of May. To bring further focus, I then also tendered my termination of contract notice with Uminoshima Marina in Tokyo to be, initially I was going to make it the end of January, but they required a 2-month notice rather than a 1-month notice, so I had to make it the end of February, which meant that I no longer would have a home harbor or home port for Wahine and I, and it would really be a catalyst for me to get out and train offshore. Alongside all of this was trying to get a permit to be offshore, because Wahine is only licensed to be up to 5 nautical miles offshore. Although my operator's license for myself personally, I can go offshore. And after 10 visits to the regulatory body called JCI, a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns, they finally granted me an irregular permit for 30 days only, where I could take Wahine offshore, but only me on the boat when I'm not at dock. So Ryan can be on the boat with me right now because I'm actually at the dock. But if I untied the lines, then technically I would be violating the parameters of that permit. So all that to say, I wanted within that 30 days to get blue water experience. And it just seemed to be a geographic goal to say, well, why don't I just head towards Okinawa, and then I'll need to be back within my permit zone by April the 4th. And so I left Tokyo on March 4th. I did a day's motor sail to Misaki, and there I spent 4 days to do further cabling and things. Stefan came and helped me get the chart plotter and the radar fully operational. And then I set sail on the 8th to Oshima, which was a rough sail. And then from there was going to start my 5 to 7 day voyage to Okinawa. But I was 4 hours into it when I had a problem with the tracker. And if you've not seen the tracker yet, you can go to my website, pacificsolo.com, and then click on the button that says, "Where's Wahine?" And there you can see my track so far. And you'll see there's some quirky zigzags and circles and things. And so, which illustrates the fact the tracker doesn't always work well, and it stopped working altogether. And it came to my attention that it actually showed me on the rocks on Oshima. And because of that, I decided to pull into Nijima out of respect and care for all those who are worried about me, because it's important to them that they can see where I am and they can see basically the boat's whereabouts. And when I pulled into Nijima, which was a beautiful island, there was a free onsen a few minutes walk away. I met a guy who loaned me his green scooter, Mr. Go, and we had a great time together. But it was while I was there, I decided, rather than launch out for 5 nights right now, where there's still things not completely correct with the boat, and I didn't want to push myself beyond a comfortable fear level, I decided to do a 30-hour overnight voyage to Mie Prefecture. And that's what I did. And that's where I am now, and have been for just over a week. Because on that 30-hour voyage, I became aware that there's things about the boat that do not make it yet efficient for me to single hand. The autohelm still doesn't work. The wind indicator doesn't work. That's of less concern to me at the moment. And also the reefing lines for the main sail, I had to go up to the mast each time to reef the main sail. And so I've been working on bringing those reefing lines into the boat. It also gave me an opportunity to zip home and get my car and take a load of stuff back to the house and be with my wife and family. And they had a family birthday dinner for me on Thursday night. And then yesterday, Ryan drove me back here. So again, I want to thank you all for joining me on this live update and birthday party. I'm happy to take questions. I don't know, Ryan, can you see any questions coming through?
Well, first we have a lot of people wishing you happy birthday. A few of them are John Gwynn. Thank you, John Gwynn.
Thank you, Johnny.
And Kumlord. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Francois, The Robin Story, Lago Films, Dale Huberts, Gail Newman, Chuck Sandy, Shadow Locks, Lena Huberts, Me You Now, and Dale Huberts also says, remember Ouagadougou. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Sean Huberts as well. Thank you very much, guys.
Great. Hey, thank you. So that means I've got people from Europe, Canada, and Japan watching at the moment. There may be others as well. A shout out to Terry, the Shepherd Hubert's Doctrine, or is it the Hubert's Shepherd Doctrine? Remember Waga, our epic trip, you and Brent and I to French West Africa those many years ago, and you got to do an autopsy on an elephant, which had sadly been shot by poachers. So thank you all for joining. I don't know if you can see the view behind this. This is really an idyllic little harbor, and behind me you can see the wind vane. That's the red sail-looking thing, which I don't have mounted on the hydrovane at the moment. That's called Skyly 2. This is a teak table here that my friend Gregor made for me, and he's going to join me in a few days' time. And hopefully the weather window shows I can leave here Tuesday. It's gonna rain tomorrow. There's a low blowing through. Monday I'm going to complete my projects, and early Tuesday morning I plan to set out, and I'm not sure where I will go other than I will follow the wind and the waves for at least one night, and if not several nights. And I could end up in Shikoku, Kyushu, or maybe as far south as Amami Oshima. But those are my plans at the moment, to get as many more offshore miles in for practice before my permit expires on April the 4th. On April the 4th, when my permit expires and I'm allowed people back on the boat, I plan to have a couple of crew members that join me as we sail coastline and to help me in my learning curve. Gregor, who has spent a month on this boat and knows it very well from an engineering point of view, a practical point of view, he's going to join me. Also Stefan, who is an accomplished sailor and he's done the electronics on board, is going to join me. And initially they wanted to join me from early March as I went south and west. And I said, no, I need to do solo first and acquire that level, acquire some experience solo and recognize myself where the problems lie, so that when I have crew join me for my return sail to Tokyo, I'll know what questions to ask and I'll know what issues to address with crew on board. Then I come to May, and I hope I will be ready. At this point in time, if I was to say I'm ready to cross the Pacific, I would have to say I agree with those who say I'm not. I have a whole lot more experience to acquire. If I miss the window in 2021, then we'll have to wait a year, during which I will continue to circumnavigate Japan and explore Japan and build my experience. So,
yeah, so we have some questions rolling in. The first one is from Sailing Sunline North. And he's asking, you mentioned the Autohelm wasn't working.
Right.
How about the Hydrovane? And maybe you can explain to everyone what those two things are.
Okay. So the Autohelm has never worked. It worked before I bought it, and I've never used it, but it needs an upgrade. The Autohelm steers in terms of compass bearing, and it relies on electricity. Whereas the hydrovane, which is the contraption you see at the back, you can see it kind of standing up, to which this red sail, this red vane attaches, it's totally mechanical and not electrical, and it steers according to point of wind. And I arrange the sails with the hydrovane, and it steers accordingly. And it draws no power. And the hydrovane was the first major investment for me on this boat, so I could start sailing solo. In other words, not being at the helm. And I was able to do that from June 2020. It was a beast to install in that it required a degree of knowledge and bodily contortion to get the inner brackets in the right place. And I'm so grateful to my friend Bobby, with the support of Claude and Rick, to help me install the hydrovane. And although it was a challenge to install, the first time I used it, it was sweet. It is so easy to use. And it's the only piece of equipment that solo sailors give a name to, because it's like another crew member. So mine is named Skyly 2 after my dog, my border collie, who's accompanied me on bicycle tours and adventures. And on the 27-hour voyage, I was able to use her twice, but the winds were generally light. And so when I did use Skyly, I was only doing 2.5 to 4 knots. So I motor sailed a lot of that way, which meant I had to be at the helm, and that's where I felt the absence of the autohelm. So I need to get the autohelm fixed. My good friend, I think, you're in Prince Rupert still, and I've been following you, and I know you're keenly interested in how I'm doing. So thank you for your question.
All right. The next question is from Johnny Gwynn, and this is a question for me. He says, "Happy birthday, Captain Lowell, and hello, Ryan. As a father myself, my question is actually for Ryan. Ryan, what does this journey your dad is taking to solo sail across the Pacific mean to you?" Thank you. I would say it's really about purpose, because of what Dad's doing and hearing about this every day. So many updates, I can't keep up with them all, but it's a great learning experience. But it's also just inspiring me to, as a father, strive to be better every day and to think bigger, think longer term, think further ahead, and have a clear destination. This is Nemo North here, and it's an incredibly specific point on this earth. It's not just in the big ocean. This is a specific location, as is the very tip of Mount Everest. So it reminds me every day to have a clear direction. And it's not about when you get there, but it's about having the heading in life. And every day is a new chance to realign with that. And the more consistently that I do that, I find that the direction comes better and better into focus, and sort of attracts it forward. So I think that might also speak a bit about fear later, but thinking big can also bring fear to, it confronts you with fear, and coming to terms with those fears is another thing that this journey means to me, but even more so for my son. My son doesn't see what I do at work every single day, doesn't really understand it. There's a lot of confidentiality, but for him to see that what my dad's doing to give him a bigger picture of the world as well, makes my job a little bit easier as a father, and gives me guidance to be a better father as well. So that's what it means to me, having a direction, staying inspired, striving, and being led by purpose, and working back from there. Hope that answers your question. And the next one's from Trevor. He's asking, what cigar are you smoking this evening for your birthday?
Well, Trevor is my cigar buddy and one of my patrons. And so thank you, Trevor, for your support, both in terms of verbal support over the last couple of years, as we've had our kind of every 6-week cigar together. And I have my favorite cigars on board, Monte Cristo number 4. I'll just make a comment, though, about cigars and sailing, because on that 27-hour voyage, the sun set, the winds were light, but I thought, the sunset, the stars are coming out. I'm going to just relax. I'm going to let Scotty steer a little bit, slow the boat down. And so I went down and got a cigar, came up to enjoy it on the deck. And immediately I felt unwell. And I've only been seasick twice in my life. Both times is because of something I ate. The first time was in Singapore when Kande and I went out on the Friends trimaran for a 3-day cruise up the Malaysia coast. And I ate something a few hours before I went on, and I was seasick the whole time. And the second time was going to Oshima going to Shimoda from Misaki in September, again, because I ate something. So I didn't want to risk getting sick. And when I was talking to somebody else about this, who's also enjoys cigars to relax, he said, the thing is with cigars is it's like at the end of a task, end of a day, where you sit back and you relax, you just take an hour to enjoy conversation, etc. Whereas for me, I realized, I wasn't relaxed. I was so attentive, and I just couldn't put my feet up and enjoy the moments because this was a new experience to me. So that was a little bit of a side issue on cigars. So I'm not sure I'll smoke cigars at sea, but I'll certainly have a birthday cigar today. It's a Monte Cristo number 4.
Bruce says happy birthday, Lowell.
Thank you, Bruce.
And Mew is asking, did you need extra effort to convince your family to support your next challenge, another challenge?
Well, I have a family representative here, so they can't answer the specific question, but they could answer the question, what did I need to convince them? The extra effort, let me answer it this way. When a dream is birthed, or an idea or a vision, I think there's 2 types and a spectrum in between those 2 types or 2 extremes. One type is you get an idea, you blurt it out, you know you're going to do it, and everybody else knows you're going to do it because it's robust, it's strong, it fits, and even though it may take you and others by surprise, they say, oh no, yeah, she will do that. Other ideas are more fragile and vulnerable. And for me, it was the case for the Pacific Solo idea. I'd gotten back into sailing. The Tokyo Sail and Power Squadron had introduced me to the world of sailing in Japan, along with some Japanese friends. I realized it wasn't as opaque and expensive as I thought it would be. And so this dream of sailing and being on a boat and crossing an ocean suddenly seemed within grasp. But when it came to me, I thought, I'm going to get a boat. Yeah, I'm going to sail. Yeah, I'm going to sail across the ocean. And I'm going to do it by myself. So that was the inner dialogue that came fairly rapidly, but then it instantly took my breath away, and it was fragile. So I took some weeks of extra effort to ask myself the questions. Why? What is it about this that you're going to find compelling? Will you follow through on it? Once I was convinced in myself, then I began to share it with those closest to me. And little by little, the circle got larger. I tested. The last people I shared it with were fellow sailors, because I thought it would be rather disrespectful as a rookie sailor to suddenly announce, I'm going to sail across the ocean. And some of them have, and many of them haven't. And those who haven't have a lot more experience than I. So it just seemed a bit pretentious. But even then, as I begin to slowly share it to fellow sailors, not one discouraged me. Now, some have given me very good advice as to how long I should take to prepare and what I need to do, and that's good. But I've never experienced opposition from those sailors who are much more advanced than me. So that shifted it from family. Yes, it took extra effort first to ask myself, did I really want to do this? Then I had to test the waters with the family, and my family are just amazing in terms of the support. And Kande specifically has released me to do this. And I often say to them, I know what I'm doing is very selfish. It's probably the most self-centered thing I've ever done in my life. It's something I feel compelled to do, and I'm grateful for my family's support.
I didn't feel scared. I still don't, because knowing my dad, he's extremely cautious, and there's not one little bit of advice that dad has not fully appreciated. So I know that dad's doing everything in his power to learn and stay humble through this journey. And while leaving this summer may be ambitious, I've got no doubt that dad's gonna have everything figured out to a safe enough degree. And also just want to give a shout out to our remote team. You know who you are: Robin, Cloud, Rick, just to name a few, and there's many others, but their expertise in different parts of the expertise of sailing and machinery and electrics and navigation, etc., and making independent passageways. We really rely on that because we are both amateurs. Me, the most amateur of all of the ones that actually have a license. But relying on those who have more experience than you is really critical. And Dad's always been modeling that to me. So I'm sure Dad's doing everything he can to be fully prepared. And if it's not safe enough to leave this summer, he won't. We'll find another way to see his mama, but I'm sure it'll happen at the right time.
Yeah, maybe can I just make a comment on the decision to leave in the future? I don't know if the question addresses this, but I'm basically a pensioner now, and I've spent almost all my life in the nonprofit world, so I'm not a man of means, and therefore I'm so grateful for my friends who stepped in as sponsors. And without exception, all my sponsors is because of a strong personal friendship. And all of those sponsors, particularly my two premium ones, Robert Roach of Green Rock Hemp Holdings and Harry Hill of UFC Gym, they're both my two premium sponsors. And all the other ones, they're all saying safety first. You don't leave port because of us. I'm also in discussions with History Channel, and I don't know what their view would be if I don't leave this May. I would hope they'd stick with me and still tell the story in a year's time. But I just want to assure everybody who cares for me that I'm not under obligation to anybody else. I will hear the advice. I will make the decision. I may not be the most competent person to make the decision, but I'm the most culpable for the decision. So therefore, I don't want to hold anybody else responsible for saying to me, yeah, you can go or you shouldn't go. I alone will hold responsibility for that decision. And I will make it in May. And if not this year, then next year.
Another question from Johnny. Can you tell us more about what happened when you broached on the leg to Oshima? Talk us through when you recognized what was happening and your decision process to depower Wahine.
So it's a good question. And for the non-sailors, of which I am barely not a non-sailor, broaching is a thing you don't want to do because it's dangerous for boat and crew. And I might cite a conversation I had with Rick and Claude hours before my departure from Yumanoshima. I asked him, Rick, you've done passages, you're a sailor, you're my sailing meister. What is the thing you're most concerned about? What's the greatest danger I could face? And he said, sailing downwind with the hydrovane, and that's when the boat a boat will want to turn itself back into the wind. So I was in increasingly tempestuous seas with a following wind, and Skyly was steering out of Misaki to Oshima, and suddenly I was trying to relax on the side when suddenly the boat heeled over and turned itself back into the wind. But it does mean it goes over at quite a severe angle, and probably it went to 45 degrees, maybe further, and I had to drop the mainsail right away, and at that point I didn't have a third reef system in, so and I do now. So that's basically what happened, Johnny. I had the mainsail with a preventer line, so I didn't get the violent swing of the boom. Therefore, there wasn't worry about the damage of the boat, but it was Rick's words coming through. Now, my senpai Kirk Patterson, who's done solo across the Pacific, the opposite direction. He also first foreigner to circumnavigate Japan, very experienced sailor. He, on one of his passages, out of 27 days at sea, he was sailing wing on wing with the hydrovane steering with a following wind for 17 of those days. And it was a stable situation for him. His sailing prowess is greater than mine, so I need to achieve that level. So he did bring the counter argument that the hydrovane can steer the boat with a following wind. But that's essentially what happened. Following wind, I think it was the bounce of a wave, a gust of a wind. The boat lurched, turned itself back to the wind, and I just immediately, I forget in which order I did it. I think I grabbed the helm first and turned it. It was in a semi-locked position, so there was a stiffness to it. I then dropped the mainsail by releasing the truck here. And then I had to go back and step onto the transom to lock up Skyly and take control from myself back to the helm.
Similarly, this is from Stuart Iyer. What has been the scariest moment so far on this journey for you?
The scariest moment would have been coming into this harbor, where I said at about 26 and a half, 27 hours of everything I'd been through on the day. But now I wonder what else the day would throw at me. And it threw heavy seas at me. Now, again, I'm a rookie sailor. So the last 2 hours I was having to track. I see somebody just unplugged the cord. Okay. Just one moment, folks. Sumimasen. Gomenasai. Arigato. I'm a visitor in this marina, so I have to keep the relationships lubricated with other sailors walking by to their boats. So the last two, suddenly the swell came up, and if I went in a straight line on my course, which was diagonal into the coastline, it would have meant I would have had the waves hitting me on the beam or the side the whole time. So it meant I had to zigzag. I first of all dropped, once it got really heavy, I dropped both sails. I had the motor on, and I would diagonally go into the waves for 20 minutes, and then I would surf the waves another direction. But there were twice when, because the waves weren't that consistent and the swells, I was nearly knocked down twice. A knockdown is where the top of the mast goes 90 degrees and taps the water. And I probably came to about 70%. And so both those times, I wasn't terrified, but both those times I thought, okay, this could be it. This is when I capsized the boat. Sailboats are designed to right themselves. So I generally have confidence in the boat, but those were the two scary moments. I should also answer by saying, and Will, who's releasing the first episode in a few hours' time, remembers, and he's highlighting this in the video he's produced. When I arrived at Oshima, I felt pretty down. It was a hard day. It wasn't a pleasant day. I lost a fender going into the bay, a big fender I need for a fishing port, which had been given to me by a fellow captain in Yumenoshima. And I just felt down, and Will remembers me feeling like I was full of self-doubt. So those were several hours of apprehension. But with fear needs to be considered a friend that accompanies you through challenges. I'm glad I didn't go all the way to Okinawa, because I think that would have been terrifying, and terror debilitates. Fear accompanies us on our journeys. At least that's how I intellectually kind of rationalize all of this. So I've been scared a lot, but the being scared helps me learn.
Thanks, Dad, for all the inspiration. Now you can see where I get so much inspiration all the time. So Miho says, happy birthday, Lowell. Xander says hello. And this is from Marcus. Lowell, proud that you reached this moment. You will not be alone whenever you are sailing with Wahine. Congratulations. Maybe you could give a shout out to Marcus.
Okay, I give a shout out to Marcus. And also it's interesting you mentioned Mio just before that, because Mio-san and Yajima-san and Yamashita-san were part of they were the search team. They were helping me find a boat in Japan. Kande and I had looked at boats in Phuket, and I was also looking at a boat in the Philippines, and other friends asking me to see their boats, but they actually found Wahine for me. And it was Yamashita-san who said, and Wahine is owned by a foreigner, so even better. And that's how I met Marcus. And we contacted his boat broker first, who then contacted Marcus. Marcus, who had sailed her and raced her for 7 years, but had been transferred out of Japan. And he wanted to see Wahine not just at the dock, but in the water. And I actually... I wasn't looking to buying a boat till 2020 or late 2019, but I was researching, looking, and Marcus wanted to sell right away, and I don't want to disclose his or my private terms. But when I told him it's premature, I don't have my money together yet, etc., Marcus made it possible for me to get in Wahine right away, because those who went on sea trials with me in Wahine, one was Yajima-san, who was on the search group with me, and the other was Henri Guedne. I haven't pronounced his last name wrong. They both sea trialed with me with Marcus, and they both said the same thing. This boat will safely get you across the Pacific. It's not a perfect boat. 3, no boat is perfect. Fourthly, more important than the boat is you. So better to get the boat that's here now rather than the boat that's there and you'll get here later, so you can start to practice. And it was their logic that thought, yeah, the sooner I get on board a boat, Wahine was it. And a friend in Thailand, Gary, who helped Kande and I look at boats, said to me similar things, but he also said, you'll know it's the right boat because the boat will speak to you. And the first time I saw Wahine, when we all left Yamashita's Grand Banks boat that night to go over and take a look in the dark at Wahine, it's about 8 o'clock in the evening, I think. And Wahine spoke to me, and every time I boarded Wahine since, it's felt like we've belonged together. So it's very subjective. So Marcus, thank you. I'm trying to take good care of her. I did have problems in the early months, nothing to do with Marcus, but just the boat was 36 years old. A propeller dropped off. That was human error, I think, my fault. A problem with the gearbox, and I was reciting the story to Claude, who taught me for my Class 1 license, and I become a good friend and fellow boat owner. And I was telling him about how Wahine spoke to me, and this is when I wasn't able to sail her because the propeller was off. And he looked at me and he said, and she's speaking to you now. She's asking you, can you take care of me? And I kind of, okay, I accept that. And so Marcus, I think I'm winning Wahine's confidence slowly. But I thank you for your support and all the advice you've given me over the last few months as well.
And thank you, Marcus. That was the most people I've ever seen on Wahine on that first day you took us out, and will probably the most people I ever see on Wahine again. So thank you for that.
Wahine's licensed for 16 people, and Marcus, with his sailing skills, always made sure his boat was full and people having a good and safe time.
So next we have a very essential question from the Robin story. Will you be able to dine on waffles during your voyage? Even a ready-made mix would add an enjoyable component to your ocean-going journey.
So let me just say, I know this is Robin. Robin was the first visitor on my boat with his wife, Mina. I'm going to blurt this out because I say it all the time anyways when I'm with Robin. Robin worked at Disneyland, Tokyo Disney for years. When he came out in the boat with me, it was the first time he'd ever seen Disneyland from the water. And like yourself, Ryan, he got caught by the boating bug, and Robin went and got his license just like you did, and has been a member of the crew ever since. And he, along with another chap called Nikolai, they kind of, I don't think they really compete with each other, but we make them compete with each other in terms of the food they prepare when they come on board Wahine.
Wow.
And one of Robin's specialties is gluten-free waffles.
And raspberries.
And raspberries. In answer to your question, at the moment, I think I'm going to have to rely on canned foods because I can't see myself down below preparing meals that require me standing there mixing things and cooking things, but you never know. I'll certainly dream of your waffles.
And we have a few more birthday wishes coming in from Lay and Lyra. And from Rod Shearing, happy birthday. M. Naomi, happy birthday. Nikolai, happy birthday, Lowell. Thank you for bringing changes to our lives, and not only to yours. Good luck. That's all we have at the moment, but maybe you could tell people a little bit who don't live in Japan, a little bit about where we are right now and the significance of this area, Mie.
Right. Well, I'm about, in terms of the course I've taken, about 200 nautical miles from Tokyo. Southwest. And a nautical mile is what, about 1.2 normal miles. So a nautical mile is almost a kilometer. It's around 9 kilometers. And Mie, Ken, where we are now, is this beautiful prefecture, part of the Tokai region, next door to Aichi, where our family home is. And someone said it to me recently that Mie, Ken, is the country of the gods. Of course, in Japan, with animism and Shintoism, they worship natural gods. But this place is particularly important in Ise because this is where the emperor comes for one of his ceremonies to be coronated. It's beautiful. It's a rugged coastline. The water's clear. There's a lot of pearl farming in this area. And on Tuesday, I'm going to be shooting down the coast of Mie out into the Pacific. And I may come back to Kushimoto at some point. I've also bicycled with Kande and my dog Skyly around Mie Prefecture too. Lots of ups and downs.
And today's also the first day of spring. So
yes,
it's speaking of the emperor being coronated here, it's also a time that the emperor encourages people of Japan to spend time with families when they don't otherwise have time to do so.
Yeah.
So new beginnings.
Yeah. And the sun is shining on this, what is it, spring equinox?
Vernal equinox.
Vernal equinox, but there's a storm blowing in tonight. Heavy wind and rain.
Yep. So maybe that's all the questions we have for right now, but maybe you could tell people about a couple of the critical things that you need to fix on the boat that you learned from your recent 27-hour passage that made you realize that there's some critical things to fix here? The Autohelm, for example. What else for the average person?
Well, there is the Autohelm, and I don't have a resolution of that yet. I think that's just going to cost a truckload of money, and so I have to work out a way to what system I'm going to use and how I'm going to fund that. I asked the marina here to look at that because it's springtime. They can do no work until May. So I've had other people, Stefan and Bobby and David Lahiste, who spent considerable time on the boat doing various things, including looking at the Autohelm. The drive unit works, but I need a new system. The reefing lines, I need to be able to operate everything from within the boat, and the mainsail has been a problem because I've had to go to the mast to reef the sails. But now I at least have a temporary system in place. There's a more permanent system that I'll get done in May, but I think I'm going to test this next week out at sea. I also need more electronics, which I can't get currently because this is a Japanese registered vessel. And the reason that's a problem is I need AIS, which is a system to detect ships, and for ships to detect me, it's a system separate to radar. I need VHF DSC radio so I can contact other ships. And although I have my radio operator's license, it's Canadian, they won't honor it in Japan. And for AIS and for VHF radio and for EPIRBs, you need an MMSI number. They're pretty easy to get, but particularly in Canada, but I can't get it till this vessel is registered Canadian. So to get all of that equipment, I have to change the registration of this boat from Japanese to Canadian. That has some difficulties because it involves customs. Miho and Robin, along with Yamashita and Captain Hiro, have helped me do this. We had a kind of a unfortunate experience at customs because I wanted to change the registration before I was out doing offshore now, and they basically told me to go back to this other regulatory body for JCI and get a permit, which I've done. Again, all that can be rather boring, but that has been a huge and still a huge hurdle to overcome to get this boat changed to Canadian flag so I can add in the other equipment.
Cool.
I want to shout out what I am pleased about is solar. Thank you, Merlin Solar, for what you've you can't see it from here, but there's panels all above us and the lithium batteries are working great. I've had an alarm go off once, and that's because I think the batteries were full, but there's a battery management system, so it was fine. I also want to thank Dormail. It's National Sleep Week in America, and they just put up a video of something I've said about their mattress topper because their specially designed mattress for extreme environments aids getting into deep cycle sleep quicker, and I need to have short bursts of restorative sleep.
Yeah.
Brent from Food Saver, I'm using mostly his equipment now. It's the vacuum pack food. I'm using it to vacuum pack my satellite radio and equipment for now. So these are all some of the things I have to prepare. And, thanks to UFC Jim, who really put me through some good workouts and training exercises, and particularly Daryl Harris, who taught me the importance of the foot need to be planted. Even on an unstable surface, pay attention to your feet because all energy emanates from there.
And speaking of sleep, this was another question that I skimmed over, but it's a really good one from Sailing Sunline North. What will be your sleeping pattern And have you had any training for it yet?
Self-training, a good question. I don't know how it is for you, but with age, I sleep shorter periods anyways. So the maximum I usually ever sleep is 2 hours at a time. So I'm assuming I need to continue to cultivate that, but I can also, I'm good at power naps as well. And so at the moment, what used to be a bothersome thing, I'd keep waking up in the middle of the night. I'm now cultivating and saying, no, that needs to be my pattern. But any tips you have for me, please put them in the comment box or send me a private message.
Rick Robinson says, happy birthday, cuz. Enjoy your big adventure. See you when you get to Vancouver. And BW Dave says, Lowell, I remember the cycling in Mie.
Yes. Yeah, let me just comment. Rick's my cousin, an adventurer. I think this runs in the genes of our family, but he has sailed solo up and down the coast of British Columbia. And I learned a lot from him, particularly in the early days of having my boat. And Dave Egan is a fellow cyclist, and he accompanied Kande and Wahine and not Wahine, Scully and I on our first big cycling trip in Mie a few years ago.
I see. Okay. And Xander Bosnos is saying, yo, Lowell, remember doing a speech for Discovery College?
I do. Yeah, so one of my objectives here is to link up with schools and allow students to vicariously experience sailing and the garbage patch and the ocean through me. And one of the schools I have linked up with is Discovery College in Hong Kong. And in November, I was asked to speak to 600 students in sets of 200, and they were Zoom calls. They were all in small groups, and I had a great time with those students. So thank you for following along. I know many of the students subscribed to my channel at that point, and it's a great school. And my friend Johnny Tate is on the faculty there, and he's also a sailor. And the thing he keeps saying is not only is Lowell's going to do this, but he's a rookie and he's doing this. And that's what's captured his imagination.
I see. Nanaya says happy birthday as well.
Okay. That's a great sailing team, Claude's racing boat.
And Rod Shearing says you share a birthday with Ed Bradley.
I do.
Who's 90 today.
Yes, Ed Bradley in Canada, and also John Gregory in the States, a fellow Canadian. I share a birthday with him and a host of others.
And Rick Robinson is saying, have you thought about attaching a simple tiller autohelm on your hydrovane?
I have, Rick, and it's a practical thing because my hydrovane is quite extended off the back, so I would need to run. I've got the stub of a tiller there for the hydrovane. I have to extend that in. I haven't been able to work out the engineering of it yet, but it's still something I will. I'm looking at and open to, and it'll be a lot cheaper if I can use like a Ray Marine tiller autohelm.
And this is from the love of your life, Candy Shepherd. Hi, Mom. I've always wanted to say that. Happy birthday from Mackenzie, Hitomi, and the love of your life. On the deck, listening to you and Ryan whilst eating salmon, Ames, and avocado salad. Do you miss us? Yes, we miss you, Mom.
Of course.
Mwah.
Well, my original plan was to have you all here today, but I know you've got a wedding counseling this afternoon, and Max got a project on, and Hitomi's enjoying the gardening. So, and I think Marie and Eli are watching from the Philippines too.
Yes.
I miss you as well.
Miss you, babe. Miss you, Eli. And they're in the Philippines right now on the last part of quarantine to renew their passports so that we can go to Canada this year. Even if Dad doesn't make it out this year to see his mom, my grandma, and Eli's great grandma. So again, another theme to this whole thing is legacy and connecting the generations. And Gigi's been in solitary, by herself, like many of you this year because of quarantine, but particularly as in a senior's home, even more strict. So we've all got moving pieces to try to make a bigger, plan happen. And I'm sure everyone watching wants to spend their own time in this good weather with their family today as well. So
can I just do a shout out to all friends and family in Canada?
Yep.
Yeah, and my sister, my brother, my nieces and nephews, my great niece Indy has sewn one of my Nemo North patches onto her cap, and it's got all of her friends that subscribe. So thank you, Indy, for that. And Brent, who worries about me so much, but on the Pacific Shore team, Brent's always been closer to the sea than me. I've been more the bicycle guy on land. We've kind of swapped roles because he and Tracy have bought land up in the mountains of Canada, central British Columbia. He's on his own big challenge, and he knows the sea better than I do. And he's been a great advisor. So thank you to all those in Canada who are supporting and loving. And I appreciate you joining me on my birthday. We promised it'd just be an hour long and just a handful of minutes left.
And just a few more comments coming in. Quicks, don't sail to Canada until you optimize your Autohelm arrangement. Just my recommendation.
Say that again.
Don't sail to Canada until you optimize your Autohelm arrangements.
And who's saying that?
Quicks.
Okay.
And Vince B says, "Hi guys, happy birthday, Lowell from Zamami, Vince and Steven."
Right.
And Dale Huberts again. You better reply to Kande the affirmative since we're all watching. Haha.
Of course. Miss you. I wanted you to be here, but this is second best. I've got Ryan representing the family.
And thank you as well from me as Lowell's son. The best way you can support Dad is to keep him in your thoughts, but also like and share the LinkedIn videos, because that helps to not only spread the message that Dad's trying to bring awareness to oceans, but also just to get others involved in the journey as well. And that will help him at some point, hopefully financially, to fund the whole thing. But we got a bit of a ways to go. So every like and share counts.
Yeah, and let me just say that I'm so grateful for all my sponsors who are helping make this happen, and all my patrons who make the videos possible. They support monthly, and those who are now helping me buy gear for Wahine through the GoFundMe page. So Pacific Solo has never been Pacific Solo. I had somebody say to me, who I really respect, early on in this journey, when I was counting up the costs and the budget, even before I bought Wahine, and he said, well, if you can't afford it, if you don't have the money, there's no shame just to back out now. And I said, well, no, you need to understand, I don't have the money. This whole thing is a big challenge to me, and I could not have come this far without a community around me, and all those who've donated so much of their labor to install equipment and teach me. So this really is a community around the cause of Pacific Solo, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for everyone who's asked questions and chimed in. Dad appreciates it more than you can imagine, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I have to figure out how to turn this off. Learning. Thank you, everybody. Okay.